Hi my friends, Loco here. We got a TFT guide coming at you. So I played a lot of TFT when it initially came out. I was able to hit Diamond 1, but I got pretty bored with the game and I didn't put that much time into it, and I barely played any games in set 2. But set 3 is supposed to be really good, and a lot of my close friends are either streamers for TFT or work at Riot Games for TFT, so yeah, I've been getting interested in the game again. And with the release of TFT Mobile and TFT set 3, I want to invest more time into TFT, so I started putting time in learning the game again on PBE, and I have a guide prep for you. I had a lot of help from Saint Vicious and Riot Green TJ, and without them, the guide wouldn't be possible. So, without further ado, let's get started. We're going to be learning how to play Rebels. This is one of the most popular strategies right now, and it's very straightforward and also a really strong strategy. It has incredibly good late game, and also it's good versus pretty much everything. The core of the strategy is to get 6 Rebels and hit level 8 fast as possible and start dominating with 5-star units. Now let's talk about pros and cons of Rebels. First up, it's a very easy strategy to play. You don't have to 3-star any units, so bench management is really easy, and you don't have to worry about other people playing Rebels as much. Also, the Rebel bonus requires units to be grouped together, so positioning is also very straightforward. Another pro is it's a very strong comp. It's one of the strongest comps in the game with an incredibly good late game that has a lot of variations. If you're able to play this comp well, you're going to see yourself placing top 4 at the very least, or you can even reach for first. Now, let's go to the cons. There's a lot of streamers and high elo players playing it right now, so there's gonna be people in your lobbies forcing it, so this comp might be a little bit oversaturated. Rebels also has a very difficult mid game. You aren't the strongest at levels 5, 6, and 7, and you're gonna need to manage your economy well and get to level 8 without losing a lot of HP but still having a lot of gold. And lastly, Rebels are very vulnerable to AoE. It can be AoE CC like the Cho'Gath ultimate or just AoE comps like mages. Rebels need to stick together, and yeah, you're gonna have a hard time versus comps that can do a lot of AoE damage or AoE CC in an instant. Now, let's go over the units that you're gonna be running in the Rebels comp. Let's start with our core units. At 1 cost, we have Malphite and Ziggs. Malphite is a brawler rebel, and he's gonna be your main tank. His passive grants him a shield at the start of combat, and also in the early game, when there aren't a lot of units and there aren't a lot of damage, he's gonna be winning you a lot of the fights. Ziggs is a demolitionist rebel, and his ultimate is a single target nuke. He's gonna be carrying your AP and mana items early, since he's gonna get sold later. And also, a level 2 Ziggs is an extremely strong carry in the early game, so if you can get it, you can ride that win streak. At 2 cost, we have Yasuo and Sona. Yasuo is a rebel blade master, and he's everybody's favorite win boy. He's one of the most popular champions in the world, so it's no surprise to see him back in set 3. A 2-star Yasuo with Thief's Glove is actually a really great anti-carry. His ultimate will always target the unit with the most item, so a Yasuo ulting is never ever useless. Sona is a rebel mystic, and her ultimate is healing all allies and removing negative buffs on them. Now let's get to 3 cost. We have Master Yi. He's a Blade Master rebel. He is a decent carry unit, but unless you have items overflowing or you manage to get him to 3-star, it's normally not worth stacking the Yi. At 4-star, we have Jinx. She's a rebel blaster. She's a very highly contested unit due to rebels and blasters being one of the most popular comps right now. Normally, Jinx is a really good carry, but due to rebels running a lot of 5-cost units, she doesn't get to shine as much. She's still a really great unit. If you have a Giant Slayer or Red buff, if you give her those items, she still will do a lot of AoE and single target damage. Finally, at 5 cost, we have Aurelion Sol. He's a rebel starship, and starship is a unique trait to Aurelion Sol. It allows him to fly around the map and do damage all across. It's really interesting. It actually allows him to dodge a lot of damage. People are chasing after him, and he also can't be CC'd at all. He's the core carry of your comp. You want to be stacking items on top of him. You want to give him Seraphs, you want to give him Death Cap, and yeah, he's one of the highest DPS units in the game. You want him to stay alive long as possible. Now, let's talk about some mid-game transition units. These units are not going to be part of your endgame, but they will help you through the mid-game and make sure you're not losing too much HP. First up, we have Lucian. He's a blaster, and a 2-star Lucian with either Red buff or Giant Slayer can really carry you through early game, mid game, and help you get to level 8 very easily, and later on you can sell him off and put those items on Jinx. And also, until you can get a Misfortune, the combination of Lucian and Jinx will give you the blaster trait bonus. Now we have Shen and Irelia. I clumped them together because they pretty much do the same job. Rebels naturally run 2 Blade Masters in Yi and Yasuo, so getting that 3rd Blade Master is really nice in the mid game. Just build them early. You can 2-star them if you get the pieces, but you do want to sell them later when you are getting to the 5-cost units. Lastly, we have Rumble. The only reason you're running Rumble is for his Demolitionist trait, which allows him and Ziggs to stun units whenever they use ultimate. That's really great in the early game when there aren't a lot of units and there's only 4 or 5 or 6. But when we get into the later stages of the game and when there's a bunch of units, stunning and the Demolitionist trait just doesn't matter that much and you want to sell them off. Now let's get to our endgame units. We want to have 6 Rebels and multiple of these carries. Let's start with Gangplank. He's probably the best unit in the game. A 2-star Gangplank with items and upgrades will pretty much win you the fight alone with his ultimate. Don't worry too much about the Demolitionist trait later on. Sure, the AoE stun is great, but what you really want to be doing is stacking a lot of AoE damage with Gangplank and the other units and just blow people up in one go. Next up, we have Misfortune. She has amazing traits in Valkyrie and Blaster. She goes great with Jinx. She also goes great with Kill. She is one of the most highly contested units though, due to Blasters being the other popular comp and Rebels being one of the most popular comps. Everyone's going to be wanting a Misfortune. That's why it's so important to get to level 8 and get first dibs on her. You want to give her AP items, you want to upgrade her, you want to 2-star her, and yeah, she's going to be carrying your comp. And we also have a utility carry in the mix with Lulu. She's a Celestial Mystic and her Polymorph is a game winner. If you're able to land Polymorph on the right targets, then yeah, you sometimes win the fight just by that. And Mystic is such a nice trait later on in the game versus all these AoE comps that people will be running. Finally, we have Kale. She's the lone 4-star unit and she's also very much conditional. All the other units I mentioned before, Lulu, MFGP, you can slot them in the comp and they will work great, but Kale, she has a few conditions. First up, she must be 2-starred. Second up, you need to give her attack speed item, either in Rapid Fire Cannon or a Rage Blade. And lastly, you want to make sure you're running her with Misfortune already in your comp to make sure that Valkyrie trait is activated. For items, you mainly want to prioritize Tear of Goddess and Needlessly Large Rod. You are a spellcasting comp at the end of the day, and yeah, these items are what's going to be winning you the game. For tier items, you want to be getting Seraphs on either Aurelian Soul or Misfortune, or Shojins on Gangplank. As for AP items, Deathcap can go pretty much anywhere, either Misfortune, Gangplank, or Aurelian Soul. You just really want to give it to the first 5-cost unit you are going to be 2-starring. If you get tank items such as Warmog, Zephyr, or Guardian's Angel, you want to be giving it to Malphite, Gangplank, or even Aurelian Soul. As for the physical damage items, if you get a lot of the sparring gloves, you want to turn it into Thief's Glove and give it to Yasuo. And your BF and Recurbo items can go on the Jinx, the MF, the Kale, the Yasuo, or the Yi. Now let's get on to the gameplay. In the early game, you want to be strong as possible. You want to find any kind of pairs. If you're able to 2-star your Ziggs or 2-star your Malphite, that's really great. You want to get that 3 Rebel bonus going. But if you aren't able to put together a strong early game, it's very important you lose streak all the way down to round 3-2. Streaking right now gives you a lot of gold, and it's not guaranteed that you can win all the time, but it's actually pretty guaranteed. You can lose all the time. So yeah, you can build a good economy in the early game by losing a lot. The middle ground of winning a bit, losing a bit isn't the greatest and you're not able to get a lot of gold. And also in the early game, you don't take that much damage, so it's okay. Just lose. Build that streak all the way to 3-2 and then we can start playing the game again. Now mid game is one of the hardest part of the game. You want to find a good balance between losing HP and spending gold to get stronger. You want to spend your gold to level and get more units so you can have more traits activated on the board, not really re-rolling for your 2-cost, 3-cost, or your 4-cost units. Using items well will help you through that difficult mid game. Give good completed items to your carrier like Ziggs or your transitional units and sell them off later, and make sure you don't have items left on the ground for no reason at all. Really think about how to use every part of the buffalo, because using items is a huge skill test part of the game. The goal of the mid game is trying to hit level 8 with about 40 gold in your bank. That amount of gold will allow you to roll for 5 stars while not bottoming out at 0 gold. Once you get to 0 gold, it's really hard to build up interest again. And yeah, you never really want to fall below 20 gold at the very least. So you can still stay in the game, reroll when you need to, and push for that level 9. As for late game, hopefully you are the first one to hit level 8 and you get the first dip on the legendaries. And there's going to be this shift where HP becomes more important than gold. You don't want to be hoarding gold in the late game. You want to make sure you're spending your gold. You want to make sure your comp is as strong as can be, that you're not losing HP, that you're killing people off, and you're getting that top 4 or the top 1 that you really want to be playing for. Also, it is a luxury, but if you can get to level 9 and start 2-starring your 5 cost, that is the game-winning play. Now, let's talk about positioning. It's actually very, very simple. You want to have your rebel units clumped with Aurelian Soul in the center, and the other carry units, you don't want them in the clump, you actually want them separated across the map so you're scattered out much as possible to reduce AoE damage. If there's a lot of people running infiltrators, make sure you put the Yasuo, the Sona, and the GP in the back so they're fighting those. And there's an item you have to be really, really careful about. It's called Shroud of Stillness. Look around the map to check if anyone's running it, and make sure you're moving around your comp to dodge that, because your units are clumped together, and if you get hit by Shroud of Stillness for 4 to 5 units, then yeah, that's going to be a GG for the fight. Also, when enemy players are running Zephyr or Blitzcrank, the weakest part of your comp is Sona, and you want to make sure Sona is getting targeted by those. Why Sona's the weakest is she's doing healing, but it's actually pretty meaningless because the rebel units start with a shield, so yeah, she can die. She's not really that big part of your comp. I hope you enjoyed this guide. I had a lot of fun playing TFT and gathering information. I haven't wrote a guide since like 2011 or 2012 when Andy paid me $100 to write guide for his website, teamsolomid.net. So yeah, it brought back a lot of memories. I want to incorporate more TFT content along with the normal LCS and the eSport League of Legends content that I've been doing. So please show support. Leave any kind of criticism or suggestions, or just telling me you like the guide in general in the comments down below. And also, don't forget to subscribe. And lastly, I'm not crazy, I'm just Loco. Bye!